Alright, hello everyone, I am Amber24 and this is Castlevania Rondo of Blood, and I'm going to be doing a 100% speedrun for you all, so let's get started. Alright, so most of the time, runners for this game usually run any percent or Maria only. Any percent is you go through the game with a fresh file and you play through the game as Richter, you don't exit the game to switch to Maria or anything like that. And then Maria only is obviously playing through the game as Maria only. That category used to be referred to as New Game Plus, but then the name got changed. But in 100%, you get to play through the game as both characters. So towards the end of stage 1, I'm going to find Maria, and then starting with stage 3, I'm going to switch over to Maria and use her for the rest of the run. And the reason that we do that is because Maria is a lot faster than Richter. And you'll get to see why once I switch over to her. It'll be a very apparent difference in speed. But Richter has really cool not backwhips, backflips, and moonwalks. So even though Richter is a bit slower, he still has some style. One of the things I really like about this category compared to some of the others is that it is pretty challenging. I mean, this is a challenging game still, but this category has some really good challenges. Ooh, that's not supposed to happen. Okay. So you can take a damage boost there. But I messed it up, and that's okay. These things happen. But yeah, there's damage boosts that you can take from the golems there. You can either wait for them to do a certain attack in which you get damage boosted through them, essentially. Or you can do what I did there and use the item crash and then jump out of it. So here is the first boss, the Wyvern. And I've made quite a bit of mistakes in this boss fight, actually. However, taking damage is still a thing that you want to do in this game from the bosses. Because at the end of each stage, after you collect the orb, there's a countdown that happens on the screen, and the more health that you have, the longer it actually takes to count down. So usually, the less health that you have, the better. And the same can be applied to the amount of hearts that you have. Alright, so this is stage 2. There's quite a bit of crows on this screen that can really mess you up. So I'm going to be throwing knives at them at certain points, just to take care of them. You can go through this stage with backflips, but it's pretty darn risky. And stage 2 is probably one of the scarier stages in the run. Because coming up, there's going to be 2 screens that are of like this blue hallway where there's a bunch of zombies that can appear. And their spawns are random. And you can have a lot of them spawn close together, and you can end up taking a lot of damage from them very quickly. See there, those were some hits where I opted to take 1 damage, or 1 hit, because if you jump at them certain ways, you can end up getting 2 hits from the same zombie, and that's no fun. Alright, I'm going to show off the damage boost here, because I have enough health to take it. That's still a bit of a risk, because see there, they're coming from the right side now, So there's some moments where you have to kind of take a leap of faith with your jump. Alright, so I made it through those 2 screens. It's actually really good. Those screens will kill a lot of runs. This screen, too, because these mermen that pop up out of the water are also random. But don't worry, that's not the last we're gonna see of the mermen in this run. So now we rescue Maria and we enter the first actual cutscene. So there's quite a bit of these cutscenes in the run. If you run any percent, there's really only one cutscene that you watch rather than, other than the one that shows up at the end credits of the screen. Now, if you're playing on the PS4 version, you can have it so that, I think it's by default that there's subtitles that show up, so then you can actually, you can know what they're saying, unless you already speak Japanese. I don't know Japanese very well at all, so sadly I can't translate for you all mid-run. But if you do have the PS4 version, and I'm assuming it does it for the PSP version too, but there's English subtitles. But yeah, don't let Maria fool you. Even though she's small, she really packs a punch. Honestly, one of my favorite characters in the franchise to play as. Alright, that little jump off the stairs is a little example of how jumping in some places in this game can really end up leading to little like partial skips. Nothing too major, but stuff that can really save a lot of time, especially as Maria. Alright, this is the werewolf fight. I have a lot to say about this fight, but I'll describe afterwards because I do have to focus. Okay, so he can get stuck in the corner there because this boss is pretty random. So there's patterns that this boss can give you that are really good from the very start of the fight, but then he can just abandon them like at any moment he pleases. So it's a very frustrating fight, especially if you don't adapt well to what he does. But I want to get his health low enough to where I can just use the item crash Hydro Storm, which some of you might recognize from Symphony of the Night. Even though this game came out before then, I guess I usually mention Symphony of the Night because I feel like more people play Symphony of the Night than this game. Because this game isn't... For a while, it hasn't been as accessible as Symphony of the Night. Now, the reason why I'm going back to the title screen here is because this is the point in the run in which I switch characters over to Maria. So now you all get to see what Maria can do. It's really, really quite something. So she rolls, she has a double jump. And so there, you can just skip pretty decent-sized sections of levels just by jumping at the right spot. Alright, so with this screen, there's a bunch of flea men that are going to pop up. Hopefully they give me a good pattern. They did not. But that's okay. But bad things can happen at that spot if you're not too careful. There's health there that I'm going to take since this is basically preparation for a marathon. There is health that can drop from that bell there as well. Which is nice to know if anyone watching would ever consider learning this run. It's really fun. And the any percent and Maria only categories are pretty good starting points. If you're planning on trying 100%, I probably recommend Maria only over any percent, since a lot of where you go in that category ends up in this category. Alright, so that is a Guardian Knuckle. This is kind of like a super move that Maria has. And the inputs for it are up, down, and then down, right, plus the attack button. So pretty much a Hadouken like in Street Fighter. But you're going to be seeing that move in the run a lot because it deals a lot of damage very quickly. And recently it was discovered that you can use it to position yourself in ways so that you can clip yourself through like that in some areas. Okay, I made the cycle on that. That's good. That part can be a little tricky. Especially the earlier part on that screen with the skeletons that throw the bones at you across those gaps. That can also be a bit of a run killer. Also, the boss that's coming up, Dullahan, can also be a bit of a problem when you're first learning the game. Because it's going to be a chain of Guardian Knuckles that I'm going to do for that fight. Alright, gonna take that for safety. Alright. Now the sad thing is right now I don't have enough health to withstand the ice attack that this boss will first cast, so I need to take the safety health here. I have to be careful with how I time it in this fight as well, because there's that lance that he has, and Maria stands up after she does a Guardian Knuckle. So if you don't time them well enough, you can end up getting hit after one of the Guardian Knuckles, and with the way that the boss positions himself, you can end up getting knocked back into him and take 2 big hits of damage and end up dying, and it's really sad when that happens. But now we have stage 5. Things get a little bit more interesting here as far as I guess threats in the stage, because there's a painting coming up on the screen that if you touch it you're going to die in one hit. But we're not going to let that happen. Also, Maria has a really easy time hitting that that enemy there compared to Richter, where it takes a lot more effort if you're playing through the game as Richter there. So 2 Guardian Knuckles takes care of the portrait there. And then this door I have to wait for because it only opens on a certain height of the boat, bobbing up and down in the water. Now this screen can give people a lot of trouble because of all the birds that show up on the screen. The birds can be pretty random as well. Ended up not being too bad though. And as far as random patterns go, this boss is the king of them. This is Death, who we saw at the very beginning part of the game. Alright, so sometimes you can hit him there with a Guardian Knuckle, which missed sadly. Here I'm trying to hit a certain spot of Death's head with a certain part of the sub-weapon there, which can prove to be pretty frustrating in the fight, since Death continues to move around and doesn't really have a set pattern. So here, if you position yourself just right, you can kill Death with 1 Guardian Knuckle on that phase of the fight compared to 2. Or a Guardian Knuckle and then like an extra hit with their doves or something like that. Alright, so here is the next cutscene. This cutscene is also seen in any percent when you're playing through the game. You don't really watch this when you're playing through with Maria only, but it is a notable cutscene for this game. This is the cutscene where runners will refer to Dracula here as a long-arm Drac, and you'll see why in just a moment. So yeah, Dracula has very long arms in this game, apparently. And there's a couple more cutscenes in the game left to watch here, because there's the other 3 maidens to save. Because in order to accomplish getting 100% in the game, you have to go through all the stages and save all the maidens. Maria is considered one of them, but there's 3 others. And the interesting thing about this category compared to any of the others is, in order to unlock one of the stages, you need to have beaten Dracula already. So because of that, we don't finish the run on Dracula, which is like opposite to most of every other Castlevania run that I know of. So in order to unlock alternate stage 5, we're going to need to have beaten Dracula already and then go back. And that's also another thing that I haven't mentioned yet, is that there are multiple routes. There's a top route and a bottom route that you can take with the stages. Alright, so now we're starting the boss rush that happens on this stage. where we go through a bunch of the Castlevania 1 bosses. So we've gone through the Bat, we've gone through Medusa. And this is another example of using a bunch of Guardian Knuckles. And as I was saying with the top and bottom routes, that starts from stage 1, where you get to choose which one, and you can still from the other ones go different routes. Like these stages aren't as linear as the previous classic Rania games. Like there's still some screens that we don't see in this category because of that. But it's reaching the ends of the stages that really end up leading to the 100% requirement. Now, of all the revenge attacks that bosses can give you after you defeat them, those 2 balls there can kill you even after having already beaten Shaft. So that's a point in the run where I have to really watch how much health I have. Because if I'm not too careful or paying attention, I can die from it. So on this bridge, there's usually a bunch of bats that spawn when you're Richter, but Maria is so fast that only 1 or 2 should spawn for her. Sometimes none will spawn at all, but that's totally dependent on the game itself and how it feels during your run. So here pretty soon I'm gonna grab another key like I did before saving Maria. For each of the maidens I need to find a key and then unlock a door. But the nice thing is that there's not too much backtracking involved or anything like that for finding these keys. They're usually along the way. It's like you'd only really need to backtrack for any of them if you like happen to miss it on the way. Also, this game was first released on the PC engine or TurboGrafx. So if you want to see like any more games that have like similar you know, art styles used in the cutscenes and everything, apparently there's some other games out there with kind of that same aesthetic. But not many runners run on the original hardware for this because it has a lot of lag, especially in Stage 6. Although I am curious what the lag is like on Stage 2 with all those zombies in that hallway I went through. Okay, I positioned myself wrong there. Alright, I'm gonna do that back up. I'm actually sad about that. I haven't done that in a very long time. Now, if you roll there fast enough, you can pass the dog. Or, like, despawn the dog off the screen. There you can do a little movement on the stairs to go by a bit quicker. Instead of just seeing her walking animation down the flight of stairs. I'm a little low on hearts here, but it's not too bad. I think in the Maria only category right now, runners are going for like the double shot with the hearts. I guess you would say like the equivalent to the double shot, because it doesn't work exactly like in like the previous Classicvanias. Now in that fight we fight Shaft's ghost and we play a little bit of ping pong with him and just, you know, send him back and forth on the screen. Also, I should note that as far as other categories are concerned, recently some runners have been running Richter only 100%, where you 100% the game but you don't switch to Maria ever, which is decently harder, I would say. Now you can 3-cycle Dracula on this phase of the fight, but I've missed that opportunity, unfortunately, but not by much. He only has a little sliver of health left. But a 4-cycle isn't too much slower. Oh gosh, that's a miss. See, that's because I ran out of those red birds. So yay, now Dracula's defeated, but that's not the end of the run. And because of that, some people don't like this category because you don't watch the credits at the end of the run, sadly. Unless you decide to go back and beat Dracula again. So some people think or find that the ending is a bit anticlimactic. However, the last stage is definitely the hardest in the run. And you will see why when I get there. Even though there isn't a boss that we go through and defeat for alternate stage 5, you could consider the whole stage as the boss in a way. So now we go back through this screen, and you can already see how much faster I'm going through it compared to when I was Richter. And here I'm taking a different path. So this is an example of how there's multiple paths you can take on the different stages. Except for really stage 6. Stage 6 is pretty much just a boss rush. Alright, so this is going to be the water dragon fight, which can be a bit annoying because of the different patterns it'll give you. Okay, good that I got that. Alright, so that's not too bad of a fight. However, I didn't take a lot of damage. So I was trying to play it a little safe, but usually you would try and take some more damage during the fight to help save time on the countdown. Now, if any of you have watched the Maria only run, usually there is a boat that you take here. You also take it in any percent. Oh, whoops. Hey, see? Sometimes that can happen. Also, I think that's the first death of this run, which isn't really too bad. This is a difficult category to do without accidental deaths. There is an intentional one that we take coming up later. That's just done faster because it warps you back to the beginning of the stage and helps with routing. But as I was going to say, there's usually a boat that you take on this screen in order to go to stage 3 in the Maria only and the any percent runs. However, we don't take that route because we need to go fight the bone golem, which you would end up skipping if you took the boat. And for a while we were trying to find a way to skip the boat, and we essentially have now, but it's just there's no reason to do that trick since we don't have to go that way in this route. Which is kind of sad because it's a really cool trick. It's where Maria basically walks on water and is she's in an invincible state during which. So people call it the Jesus walk because of that. But yeah, that's the bone golem. But during that fight, I have to make sure that I have a certain amount of hearts left over so that I can use this dragon sub-weapon coming up in this mini-boss fight here. Because there's 3 eyes to this mini-boss, and you have to destroy all 3 of them in order to advance. So with that, it's a pretty big hitbox, so you can just wipe out all 3 at once. Oh wait, I guess I'm now realizing that for her you don't need a key. However, on the next stage coming up, you do. Also, I love Maria's thumbs up pose here. I really like the art style and the sprite work in this game. Okay, usually if you space yourself well enough there and jump, you won't get hit by that guy. But I did misspace myself there. And what's good with Maria's jump there is that you can actually just avoid taking damage from that spike ball there. If you're playing through as Richter, you pretty much have to tank the hit. Now this is Dogathur. Dogathur's mean because Dogathur can give us a really quick kill, or not. Because if you're lucky, he can stay in place and you'll get 2 quick Guardian Knuckles on him. Although you can try and anticipate what he's gonna do and then jump out of the first Guardian Knuckle and then use the second one in the air. Alright, so now we're at alternate stage 4, and there's a lot of frogs on this stage. They're not quite as bad as in some other Castlevania games, but they're still a bit of a nuisance. Now, there haven't really been many clips or glitches in the run so far, but there is a clip coming up here, which is bridge clip. It is possible as Richter, but it's a lot harder. Alright, so first try, that's really good. Basically there, you're looking for this spot between two of the logs on the bridge with Maria, and then you just want to crouch and spam attack. However, with Richter, the current and only known way to do it, apparently, is with taking a damage boost off of one of the spawning skeletons that fall from the ceiling. And what that clip allows us to do is to skip going all the way towards the right of the screen to hit one of the frog statues, because there's multiple frog statues on the screen that you're supposed to hit in order to open up a section below the bridge to get down there. That's where we take the intentional death in the run in order to go back here, because we have to go down this waterfall. Now here I'm going to take a little bit of damage because it can be a bit tricky taking damage in the boss fight coming up. And coming up here, you can take a big leap early on in order to reach the loading zone down there a bit quicker. This saves like minimal time, but it's really cool. Okay, I did a second jump there because I wasn't quite sure if I was going to get it, but that still saves time compared to taking it the bit slower way. This screen can also cause runners some trouble because those bats do seem to spawn at like random heights, so they can get in your way. This is also the famous green background. I don't know why it's that green. I know it can be not too great on the eyes, but I pretty much have to deal with it each run. Well, each run that makes it that far. Alright, so this is Carmilla. You might know Carmilla from the other games or from the Castlevania show that is out. Yeah, and sometimes her second phase there can be a bit annoying to deal with because she'll jump around and do kicks like that. So what you want to try and do is put her in a corner, and so then you can just use your normal attack. And now we're at alternate stage 5. This stage is very random, mostly because of the spawning mermen. The bats are pretty much set on different cycles, but if you get bad luck at certain parts, then the cycles that you might have seen in practice are going to be like shifted. Like, they'll show up at different spots than you're used to. That's pretty... The crows can be really bad here too as well. But this screen is the worst in my opinion on Alt 5. This screen can be pretty bad too because the flying Medusa heads. So spacing yourself out is a little bit of a challenge. You don't really get much space for rolling there. This screen is really predictable as far as I do the correct movement. And there's a bat that can spawn there at the end of the screen, but if you know what to do beforehand, you can go quick enough on that stage to pass him. And this is the part of the game where sliding is actually going to be faster than rolling. And the reason for that is that there's reduced lag when you slide there compared to rolling for some reason. Just by a little bit. But pretty much everywhere else it's going to be faster to roll rather than slide. And that last single jump over the axe armor, and we make it to the store. That is the last trigger for hitting 100% in the game. So now when I soft reset the game, it should say 100% for that first file. And sub 40 is not too bad, especially for a marathon setting. So yeah, there we go, 100%. So I had a lot of fun. I hope you all did too, and hopefully some people want to run Rondo. It's a really fun game, I swear. But yeah, thank you all for watching. This has been Amber24 running Rondo of Blood 100% for you all. And have a great day.